Guild Trial Committee is calling out the union over how it handled discipline during the 2023 strikes. Stacey Perman reports Jill Goldsmith, a former public defender and WGA member, says the expulsion of a fellow writer was unfair and flawed. The Guild's board overruled her committee's recommendation and pushed for expulsion, even after the committee asked for past punishment info and was denied. The writer in question, Roma Roth, denies violating strike rules and says her show was independently financed in Canada. She and others have filed appeals. The Guild says members will make a vote, but the controversy has revealed deep tensions over due process and union accountability. Make sure to subscribe to the LA Times for these stories and more.
To investments that men have had, and whether that be in the developing or the developed countries. And so I think now, like with smart contracts, like with the opportunity to do crowdfunding, all of those opportunities with companies like ours who focus a lot on trying to support women who are coming into the space, female founders, like when you see a lot of that, then you see more opportunity for that. But I think I think it's also hard for us to say that women haven't been involved in that when the truth of the matter is it's just been harder for them to get into it.
Yeah. Danelle, just coming back to blockchain, you work at an intersection of blockchain and financial inclusion. Could you talk to us about some real-world impact that you've seen of blockchain to empower women more financially?
Yeah, I mean, this all gets to the access point. The foundation, the Stellar Development Foundation's mission is all about creating equitable access, and it happens to actually target a lot of women in the regions where we work. But there's two that I think are super interesting. One of them in Nigeria is Aku Finance, or Aku FinTech, and it was founded by a woman. And really what she was trying to do was to help women to meet them where they were. So they needed to make payments, and instead of saying, here, this is how you do it, she created a QR code-based system that they just could take their phone, doesn't have to be the smartest smartphone, they could then take a picture of the QR code, get it all set up, and then they could make a payment really, really simply. So they didn't have to have a wallet, a fully loaded wallet, and to be able to do that. That actually really made it so that they could make the payments, not just women, but it was directed at both, but it happened to help a lot of women, and it met them where they were. And the fact that she was a female founder. There's another really interesting, it's Decaf, which is a wallet that's co-founded by a woman. They're focused in, well, they're actually all over the world, but this particular one that I want to talk use case happened in Colombia. And it was a gentleman who founded a company where women could be, he hired like 10 women who could be like the EA, global EA for all these different people, but he couldn't pay them. And so then he started using Decaf, the wallet, which is built on Stellar, and he was able to pay them in USDC, and then they could cash out in MoneyGram, and it changed not just their lives because it gave them access to capital, but it created what we call the on-chain effect of actually changing it's a small town in Colombia called San Francisco, and it changed the whole town because then they were able to put money into the town and to spend the money there. So it's really like those two just happen to be very female focused. This helps everyone globally, but it just really, I think in terms of the stories, those are really nice stories to be able to demonstrate, again, meeting people where they are and helping them solve their problems.
That's fascinating. Two really good examples there. Catherine, over to you. You work with institutional investors very closely with them, right? When you look at major financial players, do you think they are still taking women-led investments seriously? Do you think there is some sort of a bias there? What is it like now?
I didn't think there's a bias there, but it is true. I think today we still see a lot more, a lot more male founder, that is for sure, which is why I think, yes, it is very important, although I truly believe in meritocracy, and I really have had the privilege to just work with so many really amazing and inspiring women, but I do think that we need to ensure that there is enough support to encourage the right environment and also support available to help with women-led organization. But no, I frankly disagree. I don't think there is a bias, or I don't think there is there's a barrier. But I do think that there is a lot more that we can do to further support women-led organization. And also just to add to what Danielle was saying earlier. Again, blockchain really help with just, and again, it helps everyone, right? So we see this a lot in emerging market, the like of LATAM or the like of Southeast Asia. Oftentimes the culture there, women is actually the main breadwinner, right? But what blockchain and organization like ourselves empower, this hardworking breadwinner of the family, and it could be male or female alike, is to just massively reduce the remittance costs, right? So it also further empower them to just really uplift the whole family and also their quality. And so I think, again, the technology is right now at the right point to really just further push this forward. Yeah.
Yeah. And Marta, coming to you, you wear the sustainability hat. Now, sustainability and finance are often seen as two different conversations. How do they intersect when you talk about women's financial future? How do they come together? Do you have any examples that you could talk to us about?
Sure. If you allow me, I just would like to add on what has
absolutely.
been said before. I fully agree what has been said, and I think the US is much more advanced than some countries here in Europe, for example, in Switzerland, where women are still not as far in that regard than in the US. And with regards to what you said, that women still need support, I think this is what also I mean in the difference. There is still some difference in treatment, right, when it comes to investing, at least what I see here in Europe, that banks organize special programs, women investing desks, or other brochures in order to encourage them to investing. And that's why we are here for. I hope one day there will be no difference, right? So this is why we are talking here. And this is what I'm aiming. But again, my observation here in Europe is unfortunately there is a lot still need to be done. And there is a female brochure with more female pictures, and there is possibly a male brochure.
We should talk about that in a bit and just talk about it's very interesting that the three of you have very different perspectives. And that kind of shows that when you look at the world, there's some areas where, yes, there is, that bias doesn't exist, but then there are a lot of other areas where that bias still very much is there. And how can maybe companies and governments and, individuals come together to make sure that we're kind of breaking down that stereotype? So I would love to come back to that in a bit, but would love to hear actually, go for it.
Jump in really quickly on that. I believe in the United States there actually still is a bias against women with respect to funding companies. Mm-hmm. It is mostly that they go back to the same founders that they're used to having, and those typically are not women. So I do think, particularly in Silicon Valley, it's still very, very male-dominated.
I mean, only 2% of VCs go to women.
Yeah.
I guess there is a gap still.
That's a really low number. Yeah. Sorry, coming back to sustainability.
Okay, no problem. So again, I happily be the devil's advocate, although I'm totally against this polarization between men and women, but I'll happily take that hat today. Women are not different risk takers than men, but they have a more holistic view, if I may express it like that, and possibly they consider different factors. Possibly often they think more mid and long term as well, next to the short term gain, right? And so in terms of sustainability, often sustainability can have a mid or long term investment horizon. But what I want to say, whatever your definition is of sustainability and impact, it doesn't mean that you don't have returns or that you don't have a profit. That goes hand in hand. And there is research that shows that. And often, and I'm speaking as a client advisor, I worked with women and men equally. And I have men and women different saying, okay, I care where my money goes. I don't want any gambling. I don't want any alcohol. I care that it has an impact in education. And it's my second preference that it has the maximum return. So it's a matter of choice and time horizon, and not about men or women, I would say, if I now may correct my first statement in my first round.
No, that's very fascinating. Just coming back to your point.